Hey, this is Ask Dr. Kesha, and today we're going to provide some commentary on the Braxtons. Yes, there's been a rebranding. It's just the Braxtons. We've done reviews in the past, and we like to take a deeper dive into the family dynamic, the mental health aspect, the need for therapy, the need for counseling, and all the things. And so that's the purpose for this particular channel. I am a life coach, a self proclaimed soul coach, amen, where we deal with the mind, the will, and the emotions. And so I like to have the conversation because I really do believe that the broader conversation can really be helpful. This can be a teachable moment. This can be an aha moment to other families. And sometimes you got to look at other situations and say, hey, you know what? Maybe we can do something different, especially if you see similarities and patterns in their lives. I believe that it is a learning moment for many families, especially Black families, when it comes to, secrets and things of that nature. So let's take a dive into the episodes. I'm not going to do a breakdown. I would usually do a breakdown. We're going to go ahead and make a commentary on episodes 1 through 3, if that's okay with you. I'll highlight some of the things that happened in the episodes that I think that are important, and it may not be in sequence. So please forgive me if it's not in sequence, but I'm going to just deal with some of the things that stuck with me since I low-key binged watched the episode. Shout out to All Black. Shout out to All Black on YouTube. They had a free offer for a subscription for about a month or so for free. And then I think it's like $6 a month going forward. So it allowed me to binge watch the episodes. And so I can go ahead and provide some conversation with regards to what I seen and what I felt. And then we can try to have a little deeper conversation with regards to things that maybe we should have done differently. When I say we, meaning the Braxtons. All right. So, of course, the episode starts with this scene with the girls coming together for dinner. And we know, for those of us that are acquainted with the brand and the episodes and the family and the dynamics, they said they've been doing this for about a decade. Tamar had me rolling one of the episodes. She said a millennium. Child, y'all have not been alive for 1,000 years doing episodes, okay? That was hilarious, but I'll be doing the same thing, so I ain't mad at you, sis. But yeah, I think they have been doing this for about a decade, and she said that, hey, we've been doing this the longest, in terms of Black families in reality TV, which is a flex. Shout out to them. However, look at the devastation. Look at the pain. Yeah. Look at the separation and the division that has happened as a result of y'all getting money together. Now, we know, and this is speaking to the Black people of America, FBAs, shout out to all of us. We can get money together. Oh, yes. Yes, we can build whole civilizations together. Yes. Communities. Come on, Black Wall Street. Yeah, we can do this. But it's something when we're in control, that part. When we are setting the tone, when we're at the helm, right? Right? When we're the directors, when we're the producers and all the things, then we can put forth whatever narrative we want to put forth, right? When it's in our hands and the ball is indeed in our court, we have a different outcome. We can control the editing. What is seen, what's not seen. We can protect the family as we should. But when we're the ones that are not in control, to me, their brand, unfortunately, is that. It's a poster child of that. When we are not at the helm, this is the mess, unfortunately, that can happen when we're not at the helm of the ship. So I'm happy to hear that Tony is interested in directing or producing. I'm happy to hear that Tawanda is interested in directing, or she is directing, and she, showed some instances where she's now dabbling into not only acting but directing at the same time. Kudos to them because, you know, listen, any deal moving forward, since they are a brand that is very much lucrative, they should be at the helm of everything. They need to get their hand in editing. Somebody in the family needs to learn. You know what? They need to do like the Wayans. Okay. Listen, they are in control of their art. And reality TV, low key, it is an art form. It is an art form. There's an art to it. And so they need to really learn every aspects of it so that they can have more autonomy over their brand. You know what I mean? And protect it a little bit more and value it a little bit more. And I know that they value their name, but in terms of how they come across on TV, see, you can be productive in terms of, sharing laughs, sharing your family's heart and the love that you have, but it's the drama for me that I'm not necessarily a fan of. It's almost like watching a car crash. You know what I'm saying? It's like you cringe, you're kind of trying to cover your eyes, but at the same time, you got your hands kind of low key open so that you can see when you're not trying to see. It's like one of them horror films where it's like you trying to turn away, you're not trying to see, but at the same time, it's like you can't help but you watch. You know what I'm saying? All of the calamities. So even though you don't want to see it, you feel bad, but at the same time, it is entertaining. So you don't want to be that for us, and unfortunately, you have become that for us. We don't want that for you. We want better. We love you. That's why we watch, because it is entertaining, but we want what's best for you. Those of us that are healthy and that don't love the toxicity, we want what's best for you. There's a way to frame it. There's a way to present it where everybody's heart can be guarded and everybody's minds can be cleared, and then there be no casualties, right? There be no casualties because it's now become a war. It really is. It's become a war, and it's not pretty. So the episodes, it seems like it's building, right? It's starting with the end in mind, with the girls at the table coming together in all of their different ways, and they're introducing each cast member, the girls, the sisters in particular, and they're coming in all of their glory, right? I love them. They're amazing. They're beautiful. Sidebar, I was on a mastermind retreat in Jamaica, and I went to get on the one of the buses that transport us from the airport to the hotels. And I think this was like a general one that stops at multiple stops and what have you, the shuttle. And so, but it's actual bus, not real bus in Jamaica. But anywho, when I got on the bus, somebody I did not know, just a random person that was just happening to go. She wasn't even with us because this was a group of us that were meeting for this mastermind retreat for business. And so this lady looked at me and she was like, "You look famous." And I'm like, "Huh? Who? I can't." It's like, "You look like somebody." And then she was like, "Oh, I know. You look like one of the Braxtons." So that's how you, when you see me in with the family. I was like, "No." And she was like, "You do. You're so beautiful." And when we travel, child, listen, comfy is the goal. Comfy is the goal. Look, I had on a hat. I don't even think I had any makeup on. I had on a hat. I had, all the things, but I had the comfy clothes and stuff. And basically, the hat that I had on covered my eyes. So I guess it looked like I was incognito a little bit, whatever. But she was like, "You look famous. You look like one of the Braxtons." And I was like, "What?" I was just so taken back. Number one, I was like, I was flattered. Okay, that was a compliment. And I just started laughing so much so that the people that were traveling with me was annoyed. That's hilarious. That's another conversation for another day. But I was like, "Thank you so much. I don't agree with that, but I'll take it." We just laughed. Hilarious. So saying all that to say, I love them. I think they're amazing. I think that they're beautiful. I think that they're talented. Um, I can relate to their background, being that they were raised as PKs. I'm a third generation preacher. grandmother was a preacher, mom's a preacher, I'm a preacher, so I can relate to them. I wasn't raised hardcore in the church. I was actually raised relatively liberal, and then I became more I don't want to say strict. My mom would say I'm strict, but I would say I'm more, leaning apostolic leaning, 7 day leaning now, where I do have restrictions and boundaries and such, but I was raised relatively liberal. So I was raised the opposite of them, where I was raised Baptist. So those that know. All right. So with that being said, I didn't have all those things where I felt like when I grow up, I'm just gonna do me. Nah, when I grew up, I got saved. So I did me. And then when I became an adult, literally at 21, I gave my life to the Lord. Okay. But I can relate because I've met people like them, where it's so funny because me coming in making a choice to say, okay, we can have rules. I'm cool with that because I lived a life without them. You know what I'm saying? For the most part. And so I kind of like welcome the rules. I got like, oh, I could use some boundaries in my life. Woo, this is good. This is going to help me be focused and I can accomplish some goals. Yes. But I guess when it's an overkill, right? When you grow up, you're like, get me out of here. I'm going to do as much as I possibly can. All that I can do that I'm big enough to do, bad enough to do, I'm going to do it. I'm going to defy the rules. I'm going to defy it all because on the strength of because I can, so I get that. And I see that in them. So yes, though they claim they still have faith in religion, we see them doing things that they would not have done in their earlier years and things that their parents probably would not have approved of, but it's a different day and age, right or wrong or indifferent. But I just wanted to call that out or to make that statement to say I understand what they're going through because a lot of it is trauma, right? Religious trauma that they're having to work through in their adulthood, and they're still having to work through it, where there is this constant dynamic where they're conflicted between their faith and really wanting to explore life, what they perceive to be right and wrong, but there's a blur area, somehow a gray area, and you see just the dynamic between the two worlds, what they were raised in, what they were taught, what they don't believe in anymore, what they've received as a new normal for them when it comes to their faith and their lifestyle, and some of them still trying to continue on the traditions of what was. So you see that dynamic. So I appreciate them. I'm saying all that to say I appreciate them. I think I understand them, and I'm here for them. So I am pro Braxtons. I am pro Braxton. So if I do offer critique, if I do offer some level of criticism, it is coming from a place of love. Okay. So if I say I don't agree with this and agree with that, I'm not a hater. Okay. I've watched them faithfully and I like them. All right. I do. And I appreciate them sacrificing some aspects because I believe that some of the things that we're watching are conversation starters for sure. Things that we need to have a deep dive into and explore and make some choices, right? And some changes. I think it is important to have the conversations. And so that's what we're here for. That was a super long introduction. But anywho, so the episode starts with all three of them building up to the most dramatic part, which is the fight at the dinner. And then we see elements of that. They'll kind of give you snippets of what is going to happen, right? So they're kind of like teasing us. They're giving us teasers of that climax. That's what they're doing, where the girls are going to be arguing and fighting about different things. I think from some of the snippets, we got them fighting about who sent a what did Tamar say? She didn't say a cease and desist. I think it was Trina that corrected her, but she was like a sister deceased. I'm like, Lord bless her, Jesus. A cease and desist letter. I guess it came from an attorney that the family have used have used in the past. And so, you know, there's a lot of miscommunication, breakdown the communication with this family. And you really have to wonder, who's at the root of this? Like, who is the one that's really starting to mess? Because from what I'm understanding, and this is from a glance, obviously, I'm looking through a dark mirror, a dark window. I can't halfway see. I just only can see what they present to us, right? And it's heavily edited, right? Heavily edited. So we don't know, and I'll just say this: we don't know what's true, what's false. Most of this is alleged. We have no idea. All right. So this is an opinion piece. All right. This is an op-ed. All right. This is my commentary, my thoughts with regards to what I saw, what I seen during these episodes. And I'm just doing the best I can to try to navigate this. But from what I could tell, from all the conversations and the bits and the slices and all the things, right, from the reels, it seems as if the producers have a major part in the drama. Yeah, because you got them in the ear of Tamar. Then you got them having sidebars with Tawanda. You got them talking to Tony. You got them interviewing Mom. And we get it. We get it. They have their moments where they're able to talk freely, and then they are recording constantly. So they are picking up some of the frustrations, some of the, talking heads, and even the thoughts and the feelings, even if they didn't like that. Let's say, how you say things and you don't really mean it that way, but you just say it. You blurt it out. It's an expression of an intense feeling at the moment. But when you fall back and begin to process and really think about it, like, I really didn't mean that. But you said it, right? I believe it's kind of one of those things where they're capturing moments, capturing thoughts, feelings, and then they're going back to the other person saying, see, they did say this, but without context, though. But without context. And without the context, it can create a lot of confusion without the context. All right. So context matters. Hashtag Braxtons. Context matters. All right. But it just seems like there's a lot of messiness going on with the studio, low key, with the producers and everything like that. Because at the end of the day, they want good TV. And the Braxtons are good TV. And the more mess they can stir up, the better. Everybody's like, woo. The more traumatic, the more dramatic, the better for them, for their bottom line. But what about the family? What about the family? Is it all about the coins? Is it all about the bag? What about the family? Because without the family, you can't do this. If you don't consent, if there's such a breakdown where you can't even be in the same room together, you can't do this. This can't be done. All right. So don't devour one another in this process to the point where you can't do anything productive together. Okay. You got to get control over this, because it's gotten way out of control. All right. And we're going to see that in the episodes to come. So, in a nutshell, before we get to what I really want to get to, which is this interview with Ashley, the niece, let's catch up to what's going on with the sisters. Tony, let's start with her, since she is the brightest of the stars. She is still doing her residency, to my understanding, or she's doing the show. Maybe she's not doing, maybe, I don't know where she is specifically. I forgot. Please forgive me. I'm just doing this off the top of my dome. But she's still doing something with Eddie. I'm Seti, my bad. Seti. I said Eddie. Seti. All right. Cedric the Entertainer. I believe she's still doing something with him, but from what I understand, they're trying to expand her part, and she's doing more, and they're saying, hey, you need to do more what you're good at, which is the singing part. I think she was trying to try her hand at the comedy, the comedic aspect, but that's Cedric thing. They say, I think you should do more of what you do best, which is singing. And so they're trying to expand that part of the show. And so, of course, she's still having to work under limited conditions because of her heart. Remember, she did have the heart condition. That was last season. So thanks be to God, she's still able to work. She's able to function, but with restrictions. So she is concerned, okay, if we expand the show, my part of it, if I do more of this, if I do more of that, if there's more demands placed on me, is my body going to be able to comply to all of this new and to be stretched? Am I going to be able to do this? Because we know, again, because of her health, and it's not her fault at all, but over her history, over her tenure in music, she's had to cancel shows. She had to, take a hiatus and blah, blah, blah because of her health. So she doesn't want to push it. She doesn't want to overdo it. And rightly so. That makes sense. So that was pretty much the dynamic. And then also with Tawanda, we know last season she got engaged. And so it's been this, I'm engaged, right? Which is cute. And that's been her thing in these, I guess, first 3 episodes. And so Tony, unfortunately, like always, again, this is nothing new. This has been throughout the seasons where she's not able to participate or not willing or don't want to, whatever the case may be. Okay. That's a whole nother conversation for another day. But the availability has always been an issue. Conflict in her schedule has always been an issue throughout these last 10 seasons. Okay. so there's nothing new. And you know what? Tony will do things with her sisters. And this is what I noticed. This is my observation. Tony will do things with her sisters, no problem, right? If her schedule permits, but she needs her coins. Let's be clear. She needs her money. Because she's lost a lot of money because of her health. And again, we understand bankruptcy, the whole 9, right? We know all her business. Unfortunately, we do. So she needs her money. Now, listen, y'all gonna have to work around my sis because she need her coins, okay? Which is cool. But this is what I find, that number one, Tony is an introvert. All right. She ain't trying to be around a whole bunch of people, and she's a germaphobe. So for those of us that have been watching, we know she's real funny. She's always been funny, right? Because that's her. So she's really funny about stuff like getting close, touching people, strangers or whatever. She's just funny like that. We know people like that. I low-key am a little bit like that, but I'm different where I don't mind being around people. I'll give a stranger a hug in a minute, but I'm funny with touching everybody's hands. I'd rather give you a hug without touching you. You know what I mean? There are ways around it. You know what I mean? Where you can show love without, making people feel away or whatever like that. But I think she's lovely in the sense of she appreciates her fans and she will go out of her way, but she's not trying to be around a whole bunch of people. And I really do believe that COVID heightened all of that. Remember, she was in that hazmat suit. What was that, a couple seasons ago? This was when Tracy was alive. So she's really funny. She's a germaphobe. I self-pronounced, yeah. So she admits that. So I don't think she likes being around a whole lot of people. I really don't, unless she has to be, especially on an intimate level. You know what I mean? I think that if she would have went, she would have been in her room most of the time, and she would have came out when she had to. And then for the most part, she would have been secluded doing her own thing, woo-sign off to the side, and maybe they would have had moments where they taped as sisters. Maybe she would have been around the girls, like all of her girls, like Tawanda's girls, maybe just for a little bit, and then she would have just tipped off. You know what I mean? That's the vibe she gives me. So anyway, to say all that to say, Tony is not able to be at the bridal party. Okay, she's not able to be there with all the girls. And so of course Tawanda is upset, a little bit, but Tony told her that she wouldn't be. So she respects the fact that at least she told her rather than her play in her face with her schedule. All right. But in her heart of hearts, which she did have a sidebar with a friend, with the good Judy, with a friend, telling her that, listen, I'm really disappointed that my family, especially my sisters, aren't there for me when I've always have been there for them. All of their weddings, I was there for them. Not only was I there for them, I helped them. You know what I mean? Make the planning, set things up. I was there for them. And so, and oftentimes you will have that in the family, that dynamic where you have that person that is usually there for everybody, right? They're there for everybody. They're picking up the slack. They're the ones that make the sacrifice. There's the ones that's coming to everybody's stuff. There's the one, there's that one in every family. And then when you got something going on or something important, nobody makes the sacrifice for you. It's always like, if I can, and if I can't for whatever given reason, or if I don't want to, I'm just not going to do it. Sad, but it's true. All right. So I can overstand that feeling that Tawanda is expressing, because I felt the same way too. All right. So I can relate to that. So I get that. So that's pretty much Tony's thing. And again, the other stuff is going to come up later, where again, we're seeing her having clashes with Tamar about this cease and desist stuff. And then there's going to be stuff that come up where Tamar slept with some boyfriends of hers and all the things. That's going to come up later, but that pretty much ends Tony. Now let's move to Wanda. Now, Tawanda, like I forestated, is engaged to this gentleman that has been a friend of the family. I believe he'd worked with the family for years. So I think it's dope to, number one, choose to be in a relationship with someone that you already know, that you're just getting to know a little bit more deeper on a romantic tip, but he's been around for years, so he's not new. And so it's just good to see them. I was following them on their social media as well. I believe on their YouTube channel. I love the way he loves her. I love the way he treats her. His love is definitely demonstrated. You can tell that he's into Tawanda, and that's a good feeling too, because in her first marriage, those of us that know, you could tell that it was like almost, it felt like a partnership, like, it was an arrangement. In this episode, or in the on one of the three, she mentioned something about getting married but never having a wedding. So she never did the planning, she never had the shower, all the things. She didn't have that. So, this was extremely important to her, because all the other girls, all her other sisters had it, but she never did. So this is like, she's a new virgin, if you will, right? And so yeah, so she's excited, and rightly so, because she's with the love of her life. This is not, doesn't feel forced or coerced. It seems like she's all in. She loves this man's dirty draws. Okay, we get the vibes. And rightly so. If you're going to commit to a lifetime, let it be with somebody you really into, for real. Let it be with somebody that you truly love. Let it be with somebody that you truly like, right? Let it be somebody that you signing up for, and that you're just not forced into a situation because it's the right thing to do. So I'm loving this for her. Kudos to her, right? And so she, unfortunately, I believe it was in episode 2, if I'm not mistaken, was hit by a car around the same time of all of the wonderful things that was happening in her life. She was actually hit by somebody as she was taking her man to the airport. She got hit, and of course he immediately came to her rescue. To my understanding, and I love this part, that's why I'm sharing it, though it's a very minor detail. She said that he laid on the ground with her. My God. I feel the grace. I feel the grace on this story. Glory to God. Listen, to me, this man loves her. This man love. You laying on the whole dirty ground with me while I'm bleeding. Okay. So, okay. So then you have the cameras catching her, following her. Ooh, she looked horrible. I mean, wouldn't anybody? I got hit by a car a couple of years ago. You're not going to be looking cute. I had surgery. It's just not. Listen, when it's real, it's gonna be raw. Okay. And you don't have time to play it up and look cute. Okay, this is gonna be what it be. And so she definitely looked like she was in a horrible place. Okay. But at the same time, she was like, no, why is this happening now of all times? Where she's planning again the bridal shower, and she is trying to try on these gowns for the wedding, her bridal gown, all the things. And she's like, no, I think they had to put a hard cast on her. She wanted something soft because she wanted to be able to take it off. And you know what I mean? Like they said, nope, you broke some things. You're legitimately injured. Yeah, we have to put this on you, because if not, then we might have to do surgery. And she's like, no. And so she's hoping that she's going to be able to take off the cast and everything before the wedding, that everything will be well and all the. But as we grow older, because I forgot exactly what age they are. I know that Tony's older than I am, and I am in my 50s. So these ladies may be in their 40s, late 40s, almost about ready to cross over, if I'm not mistaken. I don't think anybody's in their 30s. Maybe the niece may be young like that, but everybody else, I believe, is in either the 40, 50 crossover range. So as we grow older, our bones and all, when we injure ourselves, it takes us longer to recover. It takes us longer, and it really depends on our diet. It depends on whether we exercise. It depends on a lot of things genetically, but it takes some time. So I'm hoping that everything works out, and maybe by the end of this, she's gonna have the cast off, and she's gonna be able to have her gown in enough time, because that was another thing where she was trying on stuff, and they were saying, so what do we have, 2-3 months? They said, no, we have 2 to 3 weeks. We got days. So again, she's articulating how no one's helping her. And what's interesting is like all of the women that showed up for the bridal shower in Mexico, right? They're on their way to Mexico. Of course, she didn't want to miss that, even though she's being encouraged. Don't, you need to stay home, you need to relax, you need to. She's like, no, I'm not gonna let anything. Even her hubby, even her fiance is like, listen, if you go, we gotta postpone the wedding. She was like, no. And I feel her on that. Why? And I'm not going to allow this tragic situation get in the way of what I've been wanting, hoping for, clamoring for, praying for, dreaming for my whole life. I'm not going to let anything get in the way of this happening for me. I feel on that. So she pressed her way. She couldn't do anything, but she was present, right? She was present for it all. And so when she went to go try on the dresses, it was only Trina there and her mom. And so, of course, she felt some kind of way because, again, her sisters weren't there, which was Tony and Tamar. And of course, she mentioned there was a moment where she's like, oh, I so wish, when she was in Mexico with the girls, that Tracy was here. And I know the previous season was all about tying up a bow and honoring Tracy and memorializing Tracy. So we're not getting as much of that. But I'm so glad that she did mention that, because we know that Tracy was the life of the party. She loved the party. She loved to turn up. And so she, in that moment, was like, that's definitely what's missing. Yes, my other two sisters are missing, but that right there, I'm really feeling her presence not here with us physically. I'm really seeing it. I'm feeling it. I'm experiencing it. And so that is definitely a sad note. But I will say that, they said they're going to try to do the best that they can with her dress, contact who they need to contact, the designer, what have you, to see if it can be expedited, and preferably she'll have it in enough time. Let's see, with Tawanda. Okay, so they were able to make it with Mexico. I adore her daughter. I forgot her daughter's name. Just seeing her grow up. Remember, just over the years, just seeing her and her son, her daughter and her son, just seeing them grow up. They are a combination between Tawanda and her husband. But she didn't say much, but her eyes and her expressions, if your eyes can talk, if these walls can talk, forget the walls. Her eyes and her expression was hilarious to me. They were about to do the bungee thingy, the bungee cord, and the ride down, not the jump off the cliff one, whatever it's called. But it was so funny because Trina was like, "How are you feeling? Are you okay?" And it's like her eyes like, "Why am I doing this to myself?" Hilarious. I just love her daughter. She is so cute to me. And so, but I love her being there with her mom. I love that, celebrate. I think she's going to be a junior bride. I just think that is so cute. The whole concept of what Tawanda wants to do, I think it's very unique. I'm sure the folks may have done it, but she just wanted everybody to be um honored as like her, what is it, her maid of honor, or ladies of honor. Yes, ladies of honor is what she's calling them. So she's not having a maid of honor, a matron of honor. She just has ladies of honor. So everybody's a ladies of honor. This is what I wish she would have done, because Tamar showed the tape, and we'll get to Tamar in just a moment. Where she gave her an invite, and then Tamar sent a video response to the invite, because she was thinking she was going to be the one, right? Where that wasn't the vision. And she said that, Tawanda didn't get back to her. So she just thought, well, maybe she wasn't interested anymore. Miss communication, misunderstanding per usual. Okay. But anyway, the whole concept. I love that concept, but what I would have done was made, since all the girls were married before, they would have been the matrons of honor, and the other ones would have been ladies of honor. You know what I mean? Or the maids of honor, ladies of honor. But I feel like her sisters specifically, should have been the matrons of honor. You know what I'm saying? She could have just made them special, so that she could assign them tasks, because she kept saying, "Oh, I need help with this. I need help." But when you see the group of girls, like over 20 plus women that showed up for the bridal shower, like, girl, what do you mean you need help? And I think some of them are going to be a part of the wedding. Girl, you better call them and tell them to do something. All these people just having a good time on your dime. Huh? What? I didn't understand. When I seen all those women, I'm like, I know a lot of people, and maybe there are 20 people that I can call, even if we're not super close. They may just come through. But if these are women that you actually talk to and actually go out to eat with and enjoy each other's company and really hang with, then girl, you better delegate. That's on you. At some point, you got to you got to accept accountability. You're not delegating, because somebody maybe ain't gonna come to you, girl, I got it. What you need? No, maybe they may not do that. It's the squeaky wheel that gets the oil bag. So, at some point you need to say, hey, listen, I got about 25, 30 of y'all. I need somebody to help me. This would have been an ideal time to say it. Look, I got a whole laundry list of things I need done. And if you're a perfectionist, that's part of the problem too. Because sometimes people won't allow for people to help them because they have to have their hand in everything. And that was another thing that was featured that Trina brought up, how she's a perfectionist and she has to, even in her own birthday planning, like she has to have hand. Listen, you can't have it both ways, sis. Okay, if you want people to help you, then you're going to have to trust, and plus you got to know your people well enough to know what they're good at. Like, I wouldn't give to a friend, which I don't care how cool we are and how much I love this friend, you know what I mean? But if I know that they're bad at planning, I'm not going to give them the planning job. You know what I'm saying? I'm going to give them maybe the job for the activities. Okay. You know what I mean? For the shower. They're good at having fun. They're good with, coming up with some fun things to do. I'm going to give them that. Or if they're good at mixing stuff, maybe they'll go ahead and fix us some virgin drinks, because I don't drink any alcohol. So maybe they can become the mixologist and they can come up with a lot of cool little, virgin, mocktails or whatever. You know what I mean? But I'm not going to give them the big responsibility if I know they're not good at it. So I'm just saying that to say, if you know your people, then you say, hey, there are things that I need done, and you delegate who you know that you can trust, that can do the thing that needs to be done based on their skill set. That's what you do, sis. And you just manage from a distance, but you got to trust them to do it. You can't be micromanaging people. You got to fall back and let them love on you. But sometimes people won't step up because of you. Not because they don't want to help you, it's because your hands are always in the way. It's hard to help you, right? So falling back, you know what I mean? Trusting them with what needs to be done is also part of it as well. All right. And your inability to delegate and to trust people may be part of the issue. So you can't have it both ways, is what I'm saying. You can't complain, oh, I need help. And then when somebody tries to help you, you're trying to micromanage them, which makes them not want to help you. Okay. And then, like I said, it wasn't clear because it is different. Okay. Ladies of honor, like, huh? Like, that's, if it's new, it's undefined. Like, what does that mean? Okay, what is that? What are their role and their responsibilities? Like, if it's relatively new, then yes, you low-key have to tell people what their responsibilities are because it's new. We don't know what you want from us. So again, to me, again, another communication problem or breakdown in communication. Okay. All right. So that's that. Let me see. Okay. So we have that. We have everybody enjoying each other. All right. So we're moving on to Trina. Okay. So of course, Trina does what Trina does, right? She's often the glue. She's often the glue of the family. She is there for everybody. She's there for everybody. And so we have, again, Trina being there for Tawanda. Trina trying to separate the fight because we have some glimpse of that. We have reels of that where she's like trying to be the mediator, trying to, okay, girls, no, whatever. Okay. We have a moment now where there's now a crisis in Trina's backyard, okay, in her household, where she gets a call while in Mexico that her husband is at the hospital, okay? And so, of course, everything came to a screeching halt. I love my sister. Please don't tell her. I got to go. I'm not trying to stress her out, but my man is a priority for me, okay? And so, yes. So she leaves. She leaves. Okay? And she goes to be with her man. All right. Now, he said, and she, of course, she wanted him after getting to the house, and thanks be to God, I think what it is another heart condition. And we're going to talk about that in just a moment. The fact that there is some issues with a lot of people's hearts within this season. Okay. We got Tony with the heart issue. We haven't even got to mom as of yet, but she also has a heart issue. Then we now have Trina's husband with a heart issue. And to my understanding, this is based on recollection, I'm trying to recall all these things as I'm talking to you, as I'm sharing with you. I believe he was having some issues with his heart. And then when he got to the hospital, they noticed that there was fluid, not only around his heart, but also around other vital organs or other parts. They drained the fluid. I think he said that they weighed him, and I think he was over 300 pounds. Now, he's a big guy. I think he was an ex-football player and whatnot. Big guy. All right. Weighed him over 300. Okay. Then after them forcing the fluid out, I think he was like 30 pounds of fluid. My God. You know what I mean? So there's something obviously wrong. And so, of course, they said, okay, you have 90 days, is what he's telling Trina. I'm going to have to lose the weight. They're going to see if it's a dietary issue, what's going on with the valves in my heart. I'm going to have to cut back on this. I'm going to have to lose the weight. I'm going to have to exercise, blah, blah, blah. And of course, Trina's like, and listen, we follow Trina and her man. We follow them. They do their cooking shows on YouTube. We enjoy the delicacies and all the things that they make on their show, the soul food, the comfort food, all things. Listen, even Trina, like, what? Hey, we got food. My God. Love to cook, love to eat. Okay, that's them. And she's like, this is gonna hurt us all, but we got to do what we got to do. Whatever we got to cut back on, we got to make healthier choices. Then so be it. And so we went. I forget which episode it was, but they were in their kitchen. She pulled everything out, everything out of the cupboards, the refrigerator. These things have to go. And Vaughn, that's his name, Vaughn, came in and was like, wait, hold up. What you doing? Oh, we got to throw this away. We got apple fritters. I think it was apple fritters, if I'm not mistaken. Correct me if I'm wrong. You cannot on everything I love throw this away. Nah, okay, maybe this, and that, but not this right here. I'll moderation. I'll do whatever it takes, a little bit every blue moon, but you can't get rid of this right here. And she was like, "Ooh, I know he loved me, but he that right there, that dessert is second to me." And so that's gonna be hard to get that out the house. Okay, we're gonna have to fight, you know. And so yeah, so he's having to make overnight some drastic changes with regards to his diet, and I'm glad that Trina is trying to support him in that by cutting back as well, even though she still has some things. Well, look, she was like, I want with the heart condition. I'm gonna cut back on some things, but not. So that's gonna be some comedy right there. That's gonna be something because it's hard, especially you have 90 days to become disciplined when you were undisciplined for years. Oh yeah, it's going to be a challenge, but the stakes are high. You know what I mean? Because you want to be here. She's like, listen, I've lost too many people. You can't die. You get on my nerves, but no, you can't die. You don't have the permission to die. He said, I know. You can't leave me. You know, because I don't think Trina can take it. I don't think she can take another death because she fell hard when Gabe died. She fell hard, obviously, when her sister died because she was right there when she took her last breath. I don't think Trina can take one more incident, one more. I don't think she can take. Lord, don't do it. Lord, keep him, sustain him, heal him in the name of Jesus. We pray, Amen. I don't think Trina can take any more, y'all. I don't think so. So we are praying for him. We are keeping him lifted in prayer for real, sincerely, because no, we know that Trina can't take no more. She already dealing with her a lot of her own stuff that she's still working through silently. By the way, she's not one of the sisters, even though we know that we've seen her with alcoholism and all the things, abusing alcohol, but she deals with it in her own way, where she's not, taking it out on the family, but she's taking it out on herself. All right. And so we don't want her to revert back to that. And so we're really hoping and praying that she's cut back on some of the alcohol and stuff. And she's not like she was in terms of the abuse of it. But we don't want her, you know what I mean, to go just into that dark place again. We don't want that for her. So we want her to be fully present, to be a help and support to her husband so that he can get to a good place so they can continue to enjoy their lives together. All right. So that is Trina. The other part of Trina, it kind of is connected to Tamar. So what we'll do is we'll bring Trina back up again as we have a conversation about Tamar. Now, Tamar is back, not as a guest of the show, but she's actually a castmate again, right? And again, her being a guest of the show was her choice, but now she's choosing to be a full cast member. And I don't know if the money was right. I'm assuming the money was right. Hello. Let's be clear. Because Tamar's just as angry as she was last season at her sisters. Okay. All right. And so whether it's justified or not, again, the jury's still out. Because as I stated in the beginning of this, a lot of miscommunication, a lot of misunderstanding, a lot of missed opportunities. Yeah. So I'm not sure if it's justified or not. But the episode begins with her, and she has a podcast, which I forgot the name of, by the way. And then she's also on a tour, which I forgot who she's on tour with. But there was a few moments where it was just like, okay, it was kind of cringy. I'm not gonna hold you. Like the scene with her low key being difficult, even though she said, I'm not a diva. Mm-hmm. But yeah, you were one in that moment right there. With the tour, whoever was in charge of the photos for the tour, that particular scene. And she was like, I don't want to be here. Who picked this scene out? I don't want to drink that. That's not a part of my brand. That's a part of Tony's brand. I don't want to do this. I don't want to. And so the gentleman that was responsible for all the setup and the pictures and all the things and the photography and all the things, he's like, well, we sent you a treatment that had all these details on it. And she was like, oh, girl, I'm gonna need for you, Tamar, to be a little bit more professional. Just a little bit. You can turn up a little bit, you know what I mean? We love you for that. But you're gonna have to learn how to code switch. I'ma say it. I'ma say it. I'ma say you're gonna have to learn how to code switch, sis. You're gonna have to know when it's when it's a street moment. You're gonna have to know when it's a bedroom moment. You're gonna have to know when it's amongst your sisters moment. You're gonna have to know when it's a boardroom moment. You're gonna have to know when it's time to switch it up. Everything can't be 10, mama. Everything can't be ghetto and fabulous. You're going to have to know when to be and how to be. Okay? Please learn that. Grow, evolve, sis. Because now she had egg on her face because she discovered that there was a breakdown in communication in her camp. They did not share that information with her because they did share the information with her. Everything was in the treatment where she was supposed to be, what she was supposed to wear, in addition to, you know what I mean, what she was going to drink. All those things was there. So the brother brought it to her attention to say, if there was any dispute, would have been a good opportune time to share it then when you got it. And then maybe we could have made the changes. But they were kind to be open in that moment to make some adjustments. And again, and then she, of course, can we go and have a moment with my team? And then now she has to say, I apologize. I did not. You wouldn't have to do all of that if you would have kept it professional. Even if your team would have dropped the ball, right? Which they did. Okay. You could have handled that in a different way. You could have said, oh, wow. Okay. You know what? Let me take a pause for just a moment. Can I take a time off for just a moment? I need to convene. I need to convene with my team. And at that point, you would have discovered, without showing your behind and appearing to be difficult, you would have known what happened. And then professionally, you could have added what your input was concerning your thoughts, apologize for you not being aware of what was set up prior to, and kept it moving. That part I didn't particularly care for, but as she made a statement at the end, which did not fit. So I don't know if that was an editing thing or editing issue, but it was almost if like she was like, yeah, drop the mic moment. No, ma'am, that was nothing to drop the mic about. That was egg and face. That was egg and face. You were unprofessional for no reason, essentially, because it was your team's fault. So anyway, with Tamar, the podcast. Now, again, we talked about them starting the episode with the end in mind, which was the big drama that is building up with the girls are going to be fighting at the dinner table. The reason why they're fighting at the dinner table, they pulled up different parts of the conversation, and one of them being a cease and desist letter. Now, the reason why the cease and desist letter was sent was because of that podcast. All right. She was planning to have her niece Ashley, with 2 E's, I believe, to come to the podcast to talk about family secrets. She was giving her niece a platform to share what she had experienced with Trina's deceased ex-husband or husband. Okay. Several things. Tamar is going through her talking heads, trying to make a case for her doing this, justifying why she's doing what she's doing. She's saying, hey, no one was there for me. I know what it felt like. Family was not there when I needed them. So I'm going to be there for my niece. Nobody in their right mind will say that you're wrong for being there for your niece. But there are ways of showing up for somebody and giving them what you didn't need. There's a way to do it. And okay, we'll get to that in just a moment. There's a way to do it. Don't agree with the way that she went about it. Being a support to your niece, yay. The way you went about being a support to her with this platform, giving her a platform to air you all's dirty laundry, boo, boo. Okay, negative, wrong. All right, and I'll tell you why. But let me add on. Okay, so of course she had dinner with the niece. The niece moved to Spain, if I'm not mistaken, and so she's meeting up with her. She's making sure that she's good and asking her why. She's not really getting into it. But they are talking. Have you talked to Trina? Have you da da da? She said, well, she seemed to be supportive in the beginning. I have not spoke to her since. I don't know what's going on. Blah blah blah. So again, zero communication, miscommunication, misinterpretation, misunderstandings all around, all around. So you don't know the answers. You don't know what's going on. No one's contacting anyone. Nobody's reaching out. From what I understood through the conversation between Trina and Tawanda is that she changed her number. The niece changed her number. Ashley changed her number. So if and the only it's the only logical right explanation for her knowing that is there had to been an attempt to call, because you wouldn't know that she changed her number if you didn't try to contact her. Okay, so we can deduct, okay, infer that there was an attempt to contact because her number is no longer the same. But Trina did make a statement, but my number is. But my number is. Okay. And then she also, in the conversation between Trina and Tawana, said how hurt she was by how the situation is being managed and handled. And she breaks down into tears. And then Tawanda begins to say, this isn't fair to you. Because what I do understand about the situation with regards to the tea that Ashley is eager to spill is that this was whatever happened to her when she was a teenager. And it happened while Trina was married to Gabe. And there was some inappropriateness going on between them. I don't think the lines got crossed in the sense of there was an actual adulterous moment, but there was flirting going on. And to my understanding, this was through another blogger that made this point to say that there was flirting between the two of them. That it wasn't. Now, again, we're talking the difference. There's a difference between an adult flirting with a child and a child flirting with an adult. Okay. But they're all family. Okay. Which makes it even more perverted. All right. But a young lady, a young girl, a teenager in the fullness of her blossom, right? She's blossoming and she's not fully developed as of yet. So she's extremely hormonal. So she's seemingly liking the attention, though inappropriate, though it was very inappropriate, but she's enjoying the attention because she is participating in the inappropriate conversation with a married man. Okay. So we can't take that part out. That is the real. And again, we're not blaming anybody, but we're just dealing with the reality of the situation. So imagine, right? Of course, you're going to have a stank face, right, towards your then husband, then ex-husband when you discover all these things. I'm not sure exactly when the time of discovery. I don't know if Gabe was deceased or whether this happened while he was sick or whether he was healthy and alive. I'm not sure exactly when it all came to the forefront and came to the open when it was revealed. But the fact that he's not here now and he's not able to give his full side of the story is a problem for me. And then also the fact that, again, if she was flirting back with Trina's then husband, of course going to be a problem for Trina. And of course she's going to be conflicted because yes, that's my niece. Ugh. Okay. Word. Okay. Yeah, that. But also like, wait a minute, but this is my niece. This is my niece. Where's the loyalty to me? I'm your auntie. So there's going to be some conflict there. So conversation for sure. I don't know what conversation they had previously or whatever. She did mention something about a conversation that was had or whatever, and then there was no conversation. A deeper conversation needs to be had. Trina admitted that to Tawanda that they really never really talked about it. So I feel like this. I understand that, Tamar wants to give, you know, the niece an opportunity to share her story. And I'm not saying that whatever she experienced could benefit to help other people. Because now it's this thing, well, I'm sharing it not for me, because people often say all the time, it's not for me, but it's the benefit of no, but we never consider consequences. Like we never consider the repercussions. I want to help everybody else. What if everybody else don't receive it the way you think they're going to receive it? Of course, everybody, if not all, if not some, like mess. Okay. And there might be somebody amongst, the audience that will say, wow, I can really relate to that. Maybe I need to share my truth. Maybe, I shouldn't be loyal to the predator. Maybe I'm the victim. Oh my God, oh my God, I was a victim. That may give some revelation and help. It may serve a certain portion of the population. But what if they're not open to what you have to say? What if they turn on you, the audience turns on you? What if there's a lot of what ifs? So saying all that to say, I really feel like if anyone advised her, and if they happen to be a mental health professional in the area of coaching, counseling, or a therapist or psychologist, somebody misdirected you, mama. If you're really down for healing, your first stop would have been Trina before that podcast. Your first stop would have been Trina. I feel like this is my personal opinion, and that's why it's my commentary. Now, yeah, I could be wrong, but this is laced with vendetta. It's laced with vendetta. Whether it's Tamar seizing a moment to get back with the get back, or whether it's the young lady saying, well, nobody cares about me, so I'm just going to do this anyway because no one cares about me anyway. And it's a cry for attention. But regardless of what it is, the impact is going to be devastating. And I feel like if you're really doing this because you want to heal and you really want to help to support other victims, there are ways of doing it. And then you also have to take accountability now that you are adult, looking at it at hindsight, to say, hey, if you happen to be a teenager and an adult is flirting with you, don't bite the bait. That's not appropriate. It's not appropriate for an adult to be flirting with you because they should know better, but it's also not appropriate for you to give them the same energy, especially if they're a family member. You should tell somebody. Right. So there should be some level of accountability at this age and stage of the game, looking back, hindsight being 2020, so that you can actually help somebody in that way, because you can't control what others do to you. Right. But you can control the part that you play. So I'm not hearing that, but again, we're not really getting deep into, I think I might have skipped some parts of it, because it was a nothing burger, in my opinion. She really didn't share much of anything. It was the hype of it. But I think that podcast may have been aired quite some time ago, where somebody was able to capture the nuggets and the details concerning it. In terms of these episodes, it did not give the full context. They did not provide the full interview. So we don't know. But we do know that she is willing to talk. And to me, the appropriate thing to do, if you're willing to talk to about your life to complete strangers, if you're willing and you're ready, then you should talk to your auntie to make sure that you all are good, and to make sure that you tell the whole truth, and that whatever part that you need to apologize for, even though it was in your youth, that you take accountability for your part. And I'm sure that, Trina, as a grown woman, will never defend something inappropriate by any man, especially a husband of hers that's talking to another woman that happens to be your niece inappropriately. I don't think she would defend that per se. I think if anything, like I said, I don't know when it came out. Maybe that was the part, like, this is like the most inopportune time to bring this up. You know what I mean? And I think people can interpret that as a defense, but you have to understand that, again, there's a right way of managing and handling matters and conflict, and there's a wrong way of handling matters and conflict. And if our intention is indeed healing, then we're going to try to choose the less evasive path to healing. Right? This right here is aggressive, right? And it's not fair to Trina. And so that has to be said. And even down to Trina said when it all came out originally, everybody came at Trina as if she was like giving him some type of writing or talking points for her niece, like as if she was involved in it. Like, that's crazy to me. That's crazy work to me, but that's what the internet does. And that's the part of telling your truth to people that are complete strangers. And a lot of these people don't even have a third grade education. Okay. All right. And reading is fundamental. Most of them don't even read or nor have comprehension skills. And these are the people that you're telling and having them to evaluate your whole life and to judge the matter when they don't even have all the facts, context, intention, nothing. Gabe is in here to even give his part to say, yeah, I did this. This was crazy. I shouldn't have done that. But yet she did this and that. Ba, 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 boop, ba, boop, boop, ba, boop, bing, 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 beep, bop, bam. We don't know how it started. We don't know. It could have been just her. It could have been anything that might have sparked it that was inappropriate. But holding everybody accountable to me is appropriate. And I feel like that's something that, unfortunately, we can't do without complete context. And until she has a conversation with Trina, and now that Gabe is not here, she's going to have to low-key speak for him, and so, yeah, not cool. Not cool for Tamar. Tamar can be a support auntie, a supporting auntie, a loving auntie without throwing everybody under the bus. If anything, she could say, I really love to give you a platform to tell your story, but I think you should have a conversation with Trina first. Hello. That would be an adult thing to do. Like, what? And then if she came on the show after talking to Trina, not asking for her blessing, because it is your life, it is your truth, whatever the case may be, but out of respect. Yeah. Because again, these are family members we're talking about. These aren't cast members that just happen to be cast members, but you know what I mean? Only cast members. These are family members that we have to deal with, that we have to talk to, these are our blood relatives that we have to continue having a relationship with. Yeah. So Tamar could have done that. She could have went to Trina and said, hey, I spoke to Ashley. I really want to give her a platform because I think that her story can help other people. However, I will not give her that platform until she talks to you. I think you guys should talk. That would, to me, would have been the grown-up thing to do. That right there would have been the mature thing to do. But anywho, that is Tamar. Also, Tamar, she had a boob job done. This is her confession. And then she also had a BBL, which was disgusting, by the way. That whole procedure was absolutely disgusting. I don't know if that's the way of doing it or that's just one method of getting it done. Ain't no way I could do it that way. That procedure I could not do. And at first she was, trying to avoid it. She was going to walk out of the procedure, but she talked herself back. She ended up leaving her purse up there, but she was going to leave the doctor's office, but she had to go back, or she felt compelled to go back, even though she left her purse. And she could very well have sent her assistant to go get her purse, but she changed her mind and she did go forward with the procedure. I don't see much change. I'm not even going to hold you. Maybe you can see it when she's unclothed, but with clothing on, I don't see the change. And maybe that's a good thing. I don't know how much she paid for that procedure. I'm glad that she didn't go off into another country like other people have done in the past, have a botch. I don't know if it's botched or not. It could be botched. It could be botched in the U.S. just like it can be botched in another country. But you know how some people have paid less money for a procedure and gotten botched or died. So I'm glad that she's well, after the procedure. And I'm really hoping and praying that all is well with her body. But I just feel like, we as women, listen, I'm not going to hold you. I'm not even going to pretend like I haven't entertained the idea of if I had an opportunity to do a certain procedure that was cosmetic, that I would do it. I've done, little things that are probably not as noticeable, right? That look natural, but If it's not natural, then I would not sign up for it. And then I'm a person where I hate needles. I had to do something major in terms of surgery on my back. Like, obviously I did it because I was in an auto accident. It needed to be done, but I would not sign up for something like that. That's just me. And to each their own. But I just feel like the things we do to capture a certain type of look. And I feel like a lot of people that focus on the external needs to focus on the internal, or do both. How about that? Do both. I'm not saying that a boob job is bad, whether it's reduction or increasing. Because there are some folks that I know personally that had to have their boobs removed because of disease, because they've had cancer and then they've had reconstruction. You know what I'm saying? Because so there again, everyone has a reason, and I'm not anti anything when it comes to cosmetic surgery. What I am is anti love of self. Okay. Love yourself, because your boobs can be coming in different shapes and sizes. And most men would prefer natural, to be honest. Most men that I've talked to would prefer a natural boob. All right. But what they're more interested in is what's on the inside, what's radiating from the inside of you. That is more of the focus for most men. We've seen women, beautiful women, women with notoriety, famous women, women with money and power and authority, low key be cheated on for somebody basic. Why? There's a reason. There's a reason. All right. So you can put a lot or invest a lot of money in your outer appearance, but yet be bankrupt when it comes to your character or when it comes to your soul. My God. So, yeah, let's put Tamar on the prayer list. We love her, but I know we're on a journey. I pray that, yeah, I'm praying for you, sister. All right. Last but not least, Mama E. All right. Miss E. They spelled Miss Miss. I hate to be a stickler, but it's MS because she was married before. Miss E. All right. We thank God for Miss E. Um, Another person having heart issues on the show. Now, somebody had, I'm grateful that she recovered from that, but there's still more blockage, to my understanding, that she did not share with all her girls. And another thing that I didn't particularly like was that she shared it with Tamar's son, Logan, but did not tell her daughters, which was odd to me, which was odd to me. And I guess he got the word out, but was that appropriate to do? And why did you make that choice? Again, poor communication. She said, I don't want them in my business. Then why would you share it with your grandson then if you don't want anyone in your business? Here's the thing. I think the responses from each other, we don't welcome the response. Most of the responses can be very inappropriate. It can be too much. And I think that's what she doesn't want, right? The overacting, the overreaction. But here's the thing, they got a lot of it from you, mama. So it's like they are indeed apples from the same tree, right? And so that's where communication comes in. Yes, I do want to share these things. Yes, you should know because you guys are my daughters. And God forbid something happens to you. Yes, I'm going to have to depend on you to see about my estate and to see about me. But I don't need you all to overreact when I tell you things. I need for you to be prayerful. I need you to be sensitive to these things. You know what I mean? I need you to respect, my wishes. That's why communication is so important, especially with this family. There's such a breakdown where you can't even tell your daughters when something as important as a heart problem, you can't tell them that. That's a problem. That's a problem. Because at the end of the day, if something was to happen to Miss E,
they would all be involved. They would have to do something. They're going to be the ones that have to drop everything to see about you and to take care of you or to make decisions on your behalf because you don't have a husband, right? And so that was a concern for me. That was a concern. The communication, the poor communication, the miscommunication, ay ay ay, my lord, with this family, we got to work on it. Um, listen, the coaching that is needed, the counseling that is needed, the therapy that is needed. But y'all got to be willing to, you got to be willing to drop the act and to get serious about your wellness, mental health, emotional health, physical health, because someone had made a comment, and this is, I'm going to wrap this up and this concludes the video. It's interesting how all of them have issues of the heart or some type of medical issue or some type of dysfunction, dysfunctional response, or some type of bad, poor habit, addiction of some sorts, or whatever. It's because of the unresolved issues within this family. If there is a takeaway, which there is a takeaway, deal with your issues. Your issues will not go away or grow away. Sometimes people like, I'll grow up, my issues are going to go away. No, your issues are not going to dissipate on their own. You're going to have to deal with it. You're going to have to address it, whether it's delicately or head on. You're going to have to address it. You're going to have to unpack it little by little, bit by bit, or you have to be aggressive. Whatever, however methods, there are many, many methods of addressing them. But those issues need to be unpacked. They need to be addressed. You guys need to heal. You need to heal. You need to have the right type of support, not just people just taking money being yes men. Yeah, girl, I understand. No, you, and I love what Iyama did. If y'all would have let her cook, because she was being completely honest, brutally honest. But that's what y'all need. Y'all call yourself hoard, right? We strong black women. Okay, well, you need a strong black woman to tell you the strong, unadulterated truth in love, but you needed to hear the truth. It might take you some while to process it and unpack it, but she told you the truth. Mama, everybody needs a good old coach like myself. I would love to help. Or someone that is in the field of counseling, some therapist, MD, somebody, because you can't continue to move in this way. I love the fact that I think it was last season you guys did group therapy. You all need the individual one first. Intense individual counseling first until you can see yourself and overcome some things so that you're strong enough to be in a group dynamic. You're not strong enough or equipped enough. You don't have enough tools to be in a group dynamic. That's why it's important that you all have the individual counseling or coaching first. Or let's say, I say um, a little bit of both. You need someone that can give you both because some of y'all need homework and you need to be held accountable. That's where the coach will come in. The counselor, those that are really trained, in cognitive behavior therapy and trauma, because there's layers of trauma with this family. There's religious trauma, there's the trauma for the family breakdown because of the divorce, and also the trauma because of mama's choice to hate her husband. She hated him. Ain't no question about that. And she raised them up and with that energy. And so there's a lot of things that they're having to work through and how they show up as women in their relationships, and then having the right man and attracting the right man and all the things. So there's a lot. So that's season 2, episodes 1 through 3. I know this is long because I did technically, I did probably about 30 minutes per episode, but I kind of did a little bit of connection with each episode, dealing with them individually. I don't know enough about Ashley to really talk about her. I don't know enough other than the general that we know about what happened between her and Gabe. Um, but I will say, since she was invited to the show, and I think that's the whole contention between them. It's like who gave the cease and desist letter. Tawanda's denying it. Tony is obviously denying it. We already seen a clip of Tony snapping off, which normally that's totally out of character for Tony. And what's going on in Tony's world with her and Birdman and all the things, I have no idea. But totally out of character for Tony. But she basically is saying or denying any parts in that. Might have been Trina. But they couldn't get through it enough because of whatever. And then also the breakdown between Tawanda and Tamar. Tawanda saying, "I want them to be there. I really want to uh, um, um, Tamar to be there." And Tamar's like, "Well, no, they invited me, but they uninvited me. I'm trying to understand. They need to work it out." I'm, whoo, child. So it's almost like, again, it's Tamar v everybody. You know what I'm saying? Tamar v everybody. That's what it appears to be. Other than, Missy, which, because she's the baby, we know. We know what time it is. And so that concludes my take and commentary. Can we say a word of prayer for the vaccine, for the Braxtons, for their family? So many things going on. I hope I didn't overlook anybody. Um, I don't think I overlooked anyone, but let us pray. Dear Heavenly Father, we are praying for this celebrity family. We know that it started with Tony, but the other girls have taken on a whole life of their own when it comes to celebrity, the lane of a public figure, and all that they've had to endure. Even mom and dad and the family have been in the spotlight for quite some time now. I believe they said it was over a decade of being in the spotlight as a sitcom or as a reality show family. And so, as a result, a lot of the pain and the hurt and the trauma and the dysfunction of this family has come to light. And the family has had a difficult time navigating through the scrutiny of it all and through the things that have come to the surface and all the pain that they've experienced because of the deaths in the family. I believe Ashley's sister passed away, which was their brother's child passed away, in addition to Tracy passing away and all of the medical issues that they're experiencing. Even down to, again, somebody mentioned something about the father being a pastor. I believe he is no longer a pastor, but even down to the decision to leave the faith, the decision to walk away from what was and embracing all of these new ideologies that is in the world. There's a lot of confusion that is now associated with this family, a lot of breakdown and dysfunction. And so, Lord, we are praying for this family. We're praying, God, that they will discover discover the truth about their relationship with you, discover the truth about the breakdown of their family and their why was at the root of it, and discover the truth that healing can be obtained by and through you and you alone. No other methods, no other new age practice or anything will be able to do the job like you can do. All those things are band aid solutions, they are temporary, if anything. You are the solution. So, my prayers are that they will find you. They'll find you so that their family could be made whole, that they'll find you, and that other families like them will discover the truth too, which is you. For Jesus is the way, the truth, and the light. So, Father, we just thank you for having mercy on all of us. We all need it. And we all come from some form of dysfunction, especially Black folks in America. So much dysfunction, so much trauma. We all need healing, and we all need you. We're asking, dear Lord, that you would have your way in Jesus' name. Amen, amen, and amen. All right. Heal, 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 set free, and deliver. Awesome. So, listen, that concludes my commentary and this episode. By the way, this is again episodes 1 through 3 commentary. And so we'll come back again when it's time to do another. I don't know if we're gonna do it one by one or whether we're gonna do a combo like we're doing today. I'm not sure, depending on my schedule. I'll see what I can do, but I appreciate you. I appreciate you liking this video. Yes, I appreciate the love. Yes, I do. Thank you, thank you, thank you so much. All right, so just make sure that you do your due diligence and like if you haven't already done so. Give us some hearts if we're sharing it in a platform that receives them, and subscribe to the channel. If you want more, definitely like the video, give us some hearts, and subscribe. And if not, it's okay. We love you still. I'll see you next time. Peace, love, and joy, and all that good stuff. Y'all be blessed. Bye.